meeting of Monday, July 25th, 2022. Centerville School Board of Education. Please call the roll.
Mr. Dahl.
Here.
Mrs. Sternbach. Here. Dr. Rohr.
Here.
Mr. Schreier.
Here. Please rise and pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl.
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach. Yes. Dr. Rohr.
Yes.
Mr. Schreier.
Yes. Next, we have an Americana Festival update.
And I'm going to ask Mr. Westney if he would come up to the podium and make the first introduction there.
Good evening. Just a quick introduction. I'm excited to introduce Keith Weiskittle this evening. I've had the opportunity to be a part of the Americana Festival Committee for the last 18 years. I've had the opportunity to work with some great leaders within the community. I had a conversation probably a month or so ago with Keith about just having a conversation with the Board of Education about the festival and the opportunities that the board has provided to the Americana Festival Committee as far as staging for the parade, the opportunity to have fireworks here on our property next to the high school. And so Keith wanted to kind of come in and really just say our thanks from the Americana Committee. So I want to introduce to you Keith Weiskittle, who is our Executive Director for the Americana Festival Committee.
Thank you, John, and thanks for the invitation to come tonight. This is a big year for us. Not only was it 50 years ago that the festival started, but it was also the first time we've been able to come back in a post-COVID world with a full festival. In 2020, we had to cancel the festival. In 2021, we had to have a smaller festival just because of the lingering impacts of the pandemic and its impact on our community. So what started as a sidewalk sale in 1972 by local merchants is now spread to become the single largest one-day festival in Ohio, with 75,000 plus attendees, over 200 food and arts and crafts vendors. We have an auto show this year that drew a record-setting 170 cars on Main Street. We have a 5K race, 5K run that had nearly 800 runners finish. A little bit more than that registered but didn't quite finish. And we had entertainment spread up and down Main Street across 4 different stages. So if you've ever been to the Americana Festival, you know it can be quite crowded, quite hot on those days, and we had a good day. It's a great day for our community. Our community shines so well on this day. This year we honored Dr. Tom Henderson as our Grand Marshal. We celebrated Tom's contributions to our community for more than 30 years. This year his grandson, Gavin, he rode in a fire truck in our parade as a Grand Marshal. A memory I'm sure Gavin won't forget, or a memory you sure won't forget. That's time spent with him. So thank you.
Thank you.
We were proud to honor you and your accomplishments and contributions to the community. On behalf of the community and the Americana Festival Committee, I'd like to thank the Centerville School District, City Schools for your continued support of the Americana Festival. Along with the city and the township, Centerville City Schools is one of our largest community partners. Without your contributions and your support, the festival will not be as successful as it has been. The school district's contributions can be seen in many aspects of our festival. You allow us to use the stadium, the fireworks venue. We partner with the Centerville PTO with Best Seats in the House, a fundraising opportunity for them. The start and finish of the line for our 5K run is on the school property. It allows us to stage parade around the high school. We had a record number of 134 units in our parade this year. Units in the parade that were associated with the school, I'll probably missed some. The jazz band, co-ed dance team, Centerville cheer teams, the football teams, they are Hooper scoopers. One of the lessons I learned when I first started doing the parade was you don't put the band right after the horse. That's an important lesson to learn in the parade world. Special thanks there to Coach John Puckett. He, at the last minute, we needed some additional people to help carry some banners in the parade. He brought the football team and cross cross-country team members to bear on that morning, and that was extremely helpful. The Forte a cappella group was in the parade. The boys bowling team was in the parade. I forget the coach's name. He was really excited about being in the parade. Big compliments of that team. The Centerville Special Elks track team was in the parade, and we even had a Centerville school bus in our parade. The only ones missing from this list is the school board. I told John I wanted to make sure that I extended a personal invitation to you all next year. Please be in our parade. You can walk, you can get a golf cart, you can get a float, you can ride in a car. But we'd love to have you in our parade next year. Please consider that. I wanted to take some time to recognize that we give a number of scholarships to current and former Centerville students. The winner of our college division is a former student, Peter Casales, son of Catherine and James Casales. Peter attends the University of Toledo where he studies biology and chemistry. First place in our high school scholarship and a winner of $1,600, Laura Zipes, daughter of Sandy and Jeff Zipes. Second place winner in the high school division for $1,000 was Kevin Whitehead, son of Chris and Angela Whitehead, who plans to attend Princeton University. Third place winner in the high school division for $800 was Izzy Lately, daughter of Lena and Bill Lately, who plans to attend The Ohio State University. We have a community service award, named after Joe Bolus. That's $800 scholarship, and the winner of that was Glenn Baker, daughter of Daniel and Amanda Baker, who plans to attend the University of Cincinnati. We offer prize and scholarships down all the way into the middle school. There were 2 middle school winners this year, Nissy Xavier, daughter of Previn Xavier Nanasecker and Olga Simon, and Avery Stott. Nissy goes to Masdick, and Avery is a student at Tower Heights. She's the daughter of Ed and Missy Stott. So finally, I'd like to say a special thanks to 3 school employees who give generously to their time in the Americana Festival. Sean Collins is our logistics chair. Nothing would work well behind the scenes if it wasn't for Sean and his team. If you're on the radio that day, you hear Sean's name called all the time because we need this over there and that over there and electricity there and we need that there. He's amazing, does a great job for us. His mom, Mindy, is our decorating contest chair. She's helped expand that decorating contest, lots of energy, lots of enthusiasm. It'll be bigger and better again next year. And finally, John Wesney, who's already told you, he spent 18 years associated with the Americana Festival. He is the chair of our board. He brings wise counsel and always helps with get through the challenges that we have and encouraging and all that we do. So we had a very great year and due mostly in a lot part to your contributions. It's gone not mentioned before, but I wanted to come and mention that today. There are many things that you all allowed to happen. If you didn't allow it to happen, it wouldn't be the same here in Centerville, Washington Township. Thank you. On behalf of the community, everybody in the community, everybody on the committee, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I do want to say that I think this was one of the largest participations you've had, attendance you've had, and that was really because they heard Tom was. I just want you to realize that.
It's hard. We can't get.
It's going to be hard to beat this year, but you know.
We can't get the park district to do it, the National Park District to do estimates anymore.
Yeah.
But, I tell people.
It must have been 1 million then.
At least. I tell people it was one more than our largest crowd. So it's because of Tom.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next on the agenda is public participation. I know there are a couple of people that signed up to speak. This is a time and opportunity we encourage people to come and ask questions or give a statement. We try to limit participation to about 3 minutes or less. We tend to listen. We tend not to engage during that speaker, and either we'll get back to you or Dr. Henderson will get back to you or our new superintendent, John Wesney, will get back to you. But, so I know, Stillwell, feel free. Just state your name. You don't have to give an address or anything.
Hi, my name is Matt Stillwell. I'm a teacher here at Centerville High School. I'm fortunate to be a teacher in Centerville City Schools and love my job. I'm impressed with that. The reason I came tonight is currently Montgomery County is on a level high for COVID, and they are recommending mask indoors. And I was just coming to see if they were going to be mask indoors. And we were at this level last year when the masks were required for kids and staff in Centerville City Schools. So, like, I guess I'm here hoping that Centerville City Schools will not invoke a mask mandate. Choice is fine. I will never forget last year when the mandate was dropped in February. It was a sigh of relief for my kids. In my classroom, it seemed like more got done. Kids were at ease. I could see the kids' faces. And on a typical classroom size of about 25, I maybe had one or two that chose to wear the mask. And that was fine. I respect that 100%. But since we're level high now, and we were level high last year, I'm hoping that the board looks and gives kids and staff choice. Because kids in masks for 8 straight hours. Some kids get on the bus at 6:30, they're on the bus, they get to school. You just see them wearing down. So I'm here basically that I just don't want masks forced upon teachers and students especially. It really affected my kids at home. My daughter Blair is going to speak how it has affected her over these last couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Blair Stillwell, and I am from Washington Township, and I'm going to be a freshman in high school this year. In light of the CDC declaring Montgomery County at the high level of cases, I have come to give my thoughts on wearing masks at school. In the past 2 years, I remember Centerville schools strictly following the CDC guidelines. I remember sitting alone and away from my friends at lunch. I remember having a hard time breathing. I remember having a hard time hearing the teacher. I remember having a hard time concentrating. I remember feeling fatigued. I remember feeling lightheaded. I remember feeling anxious going to school. I remember wearing a mask in the dugout during softball. I remember agonizing about going to school when I used to love it. I remember my doctor writing a note to the school that I shouldn't wear a mask for my health. I remember Dr. Henderson declining the note when he's not a medical doctor. I remember my doctor telling me he called the school to talk about it and nobody would speak to him. I remember having the worst school year of my life. I would like to have more positive memories moving forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Let me just make a quick comment for the Stillwells. At this moment, there is no plan, no discussion about changing the mandate. I think one of the big differences this year so far is that everyone's had an opportunity to be vaccinated. We hope everyone does get vaccinated. That makes a big, big difference this year compared to in the past. And at this point, there is no mandate. And again, there's never any promises. Things change, and we'll see. But just for you and everyone else, right now, I don't think there's any plan or discussion to change that. Our next, treasurer's recommendations. I'm sorry, reports. There won't be a legislative report or a student rep report tonight. So the June monthly financial report.
Thank you. Good evening. We are in July, and so fiscal year 22 is balanced and closed, and we are well into fiscal year, well, not well into, but almost a whole month into fiscal year 23 already. So, but for tonight, I want to recap for you our fiscal year 22 general fund finances, and then I want to give you just a little bit of an update on the schedule for presenting to you in the coming months the information for fiscal year 23. So first, we'll take a look at revenue. Back in September last year, if you remember, we gathered around the screen and we talked a lot about what our revenue was going to be for fiscal year 2022. And we estimated that revenue to be about $108 million, or just above $108 million. Our revenue came in at about $112 million. And so I want to just kind of talk a little bit about what some of those differences are. The two main areas, property taxes for one. We had very strong collections, and Centerville and Washington Township continues to experience a lot of new construction throughout the community. We do receive new revenue on new construction. That's the one area where we do see growth in our property taxes. And then we talked all year last year. If you go back and listen to the recordings from our meetings, every month I put my hands up and I said, I don't know about state funding. We got a new funding model that was introduced in last July, 1 year ago. That funding model was not implemented until January, and then they continued to phase in portions of that model all the way through March. And so until we got to April, just 3 months ago, we didn't really know what our state funding was going to be for sure. And so that did come in higher than what we had anticipated. The Fair School Funding Plan offers some guarantees, and all of the reductions from the pandemic that we had were restored. So that is kind of an update on our revenue. Then for expenses, again, a year ago, or it's back in September, we set our year estimate at about $109.5 million for the year. Our actual expenses, we came in at about 109.3. I think in my history as for 22 years as a treasurer, I believe that this is the closest that I've ever experienced of being in line. And so we basically spent exactly what we thought we would. We were over and under in a couple of the areas, and you can see that on the slide. You know, wages, we were actually a little bit over, but in our benefit area, we were under. And then you can see that we were up and down in a couple of the categories. But overall, we were about $186,000 under what our planned budget was. So for this particular year, we couldn't have been any closer, really, on our spending. And so finally, then, to talk a little bit about our overall surplus or deficit. We had planned, again, I had mentioned that we were at about $108 million estimated revenue and had planned to spend about $109 million. So we had planned to deficit spend by $1.1 million, but we actually ended up with a surplus of about 2.7. So we had a very good year. Our revenues helped with that. That is the biggest help there. Cash reserve, we increased our cash reserve by about 8.6%. From 31.8 million to 34.5 million. And so we're still kind of on that upward trend from passing the levy in 2019. That's normal and typical for districts once they pass a levy to see a couple of years, hopefully, of having a surplus each year, and then that deficit spending trend will likely set in, within the next, year or two. But more on that later. We will be talking about that in the coming months in August and September. Any questions on that before I talk a little bit about our schedule moving forward?
Just to emphasize what we talked about last week, that this means we actually had a balanced budget, correct?
Yes.
So for everyone out there who is always saying that, 2020, 21, 22 school year, we had a balanced budget.
That's correct.
So
yes.
We'll continue to work hard as you always do.
Yep, we will. So then for looking at the 2023 financial master plan, just to give you kind of a timeline for that a little bit tonight, I wanted to make sure to report to you the 22 final figures. From this point forward, or actually all of July through August, and probably even into early September at this point, just because we're still having some fluctuations in our staffing. And we've been working on the budget, just so that all of you know, since about March. I mean, we didn't just pick this up and start working on it. We work on the budget sometimes year round, it feels like. But July through mid-August or early September is really the heavy part of estimating our wages and our benefits for all of our staff. People are leaving, retirements and resignations, new people are coming in, and so we factor all of that in. And so I'll be working with the central office administrators to finish that up. And there's many things to consider. Inflation is so high. So many of our costs have gone up, and so we're trying to balance that. Supply chain shortages. I know of one particular person that contacted me and said that they've ordered materials, but they're not going to be in until December. So, we are seeing some areas where there are some supply chain issues, and that drives costs up as well. And then still factoring in our ESSER funds. We've had a lot of conversations about our ESSER funding and how we're utilizing that for learning recovery and for other things to address needs from the pandemic. And so, we continue to have some ESSER funds that we're spending as well. So my hope is that in August we can present a plan to you. It could be September. We're going to try really hard for August, but know that it might be September before we can get that wrapped up. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to treasurer's recommendations. Consider approving the June 22 financial statements as followed: monthly general fund rolling report, monthly cash reconciliation, monthly fund activity report, then and now purchase orders approved by administration, certified by the treasurer and supported by board resolution totaling $30,723.64.
So moved. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Consider approving the minutes of the following Board of Education meetings: June 27th and July 18th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Consider approving the return of advances to the general fund from the following funds: 507 Esser for $35,000, 524 Carl Perkins, $35,000, 509 Title 2-A, $4,000.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Before you do that,
Yeah.
Sarah, will you just explain that, Sarah? All right, Sarah, will you explain that?
Yes, yes. Back in June, you had approved advances from the general fund to these various grants. It's a timing on when the state sends us money. It's usually related to grant funds. So we are taking this money and returning it back to the general fund now in July. We have to end the fiscal year with a positive balance, and so what you had approved in June allowed us to do that, and now we're just paying it back to the general fund.
Thank you.
Thanks. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Next, superintendent's recommendations. Superintendent recommends accepting the resignations as listed on Schedule A, recommends the employment, change of employment status or change of contract status for the certificated personnel listed on Schedule B, for the salaries, programs on the effective dates given, recommends the employment or change of employment status for the support staff listed on Schedule C, for the salaries, programs on the effective dates given. Superintendent recommends employment or change of employment status for the support staff personnel listed on Schedule C, for the salaries, programs, and on the effective dates given. Superintendent recommends the employment of the personnel listed on Schedule D or supplemental contracts or extra duty assignments. Superintendent recommends the granting of leaves of absence for the personnel listed on Schedule E for the reasons and on the dates given.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Next, the superintendent recommends the employment of personnel listed on Schedule D1 for supplemental contracts or extra duty assignments, and the superintendent recommends the employment of personnel listed on Schedule D2 for supplemental contracts or extra duty assignments.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Abstain.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Next, consider approving bus routes for the 22-23 school year with authorization for the supervisor of transportation to adjust routes when necessary. And again, these items that we're going to vote on now, we've previously discussed at other meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Consider a resolution approving 22-23 school fees that we also discussed previously.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Consider a resolution approving a new 3-year SRO contract with the City of Centerville beginning August 1st, 2022. Again, this is for our student resource officers, which are supplied by Centerville City and the Washington Township Sheriff's Department. So, call the roll, please. Oh, I'm sorry.
So moved.
Sorry.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach? Yes. Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Consider a resolution approving the elementary code of conduct for the 22-23 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Question, that was only related to the electronic watches, the smart watches.
Smart watches.
Okay.
Gotta love electronics. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Next, final comments from Board of Education members regarding any ongoing business. Well,
We should make a comment about
Yes.
Dr. Henderson.
I hope somebody does,
That was going to be the comment. Feel free, John, go ahead.
Everyone knows that this will be the last meeting for Dr. Henderson. He is officially retiring as the school superintendent. All of us know, Dr. Henderson, you've done an excellent, great job for the school district as superintendent for over 14 years.
for the school district for 31 years. So we will all miss you. We hope you come back and visit us often. I hope you will help Mr. Wesley any time he asks for your assistance. I'm sure you will. But again, it's a wonderful time for you. We really appreciate everything you've done for our district for all the years. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Dahl?
Yes.
Mrs. Sternbach?
Yes.
Dr. Rohr?
Yes.
Mr. Schreier?
Yes.
Thank you.